In our last gathering, we began our exploration of Nathaniel Chipman's incisive critique of the so-called natural state of man. We confronted the romantic notion, popularized by thinkers like Rousseau, that the savage, unburdened by civilization, represents some lost ideal of human virtue and happiness. Chipman, as we saw, began his counter-argument by pointing to the stark realities of life in extremely primitive societies, like those of New Holland and Tierra del Fuego, societies lacking even the most basic elements of agriculture, property rights, and social order. He asks, is this deprivation, this constant struggle for bare survival, truly the pinnacle of human existence? Today, Chipman turns his attention to a society closer to home, a society that provides a richer, more complex, and, frankly, more disturbing example of the natural state: the indigenous tribes of North America. Now, when first encountered by Europeans, some of these tribes might have appeared to the casual observer to embody a certain simplicity and even a kind of nobility. They were, within their own tribes, generally honest. They lived in close harmony with nature, drawing their sustenance from the rivers and forests, supplementing their diet with a limited amount of cultivation. They crafted clothing from animal skins, adequate for their needs. They appeared in many respects content with their lot, or at least resigned to it as an inevitable fate. But Chipman, with his characteristic refusal to accept superficial appearances, delves deeper. He reminds us that these societies, like all human societies, were driven by powerful passions, and in the absence of a well-defined system of law and justice, these passions often manifested in ways that are far from idyllic. For the Native American warrior, Chipman observes, war and hunting were considered the only pursuits worthy of a man. Skill in these arts was the ultimate measure of status, the highest form of honor. All other labor, the cultivation of the fields, the tending of the home, the raising of children, fell upon the women, who, in Chipman's assessment, occupied a position little better than that of slaves. This, Chipman argues, fostered a ferocity of manners. With no formal legal system to adjudicate disputes, every individual was left to be the judge, jury, and executioner in his own cause. Resentment festered, and revenge became a paramount value. An injury to one member of a tribe was considered an injury to the entire tribe, leading to a perpetual cycle of conflict. The possession of hunting grounds, vital for survival, became a matter of national pride and a frequent cause for war. And these wars were not the stylized, chivalrous affairs of European history. Chipman does not shy away from describing the brutal realities: the butchering and scalping of the elderly, women and children, the torture and burning of prisoners in cold blood. These were not clandestine acts of savagery, but public transactions, carried out under what these tribes considered to be their law of nations. This was not the secret act of rogues, nor were these societies immune to the allure of power and conquest. The Aztecs, at the time of the Spanish conquest, ruled a vast empire built on the subjugation of neighboring peoples. And closer to Chipman's own time, the Iroquois Confederacy, the Five Nations, established a formidable military dominance, becoming a source of terror for tribes across a wide territory. These examples, Chipman insists, are not anomalies. They are evidence of a fundamental truth about human nature, that even in the absence of civilization's complexities, the drive for power, the potential for violence, and the capacity for cruelty are ever present. He is not saying civilization is free of these issues. Quite the opposite. The natural state, as exemplified by the Native American tribes, is not a utopia of peace and harmony. It is rather a world characterized by constant struggle, insecurity, and often brutal conflict. Next time we will move on to the discussion of virtue in the savage state.